Hello again from my front porch. I am here again with McCoy and Mulder and a few other friends on my shirt. You like my shirt here? It's got the lovely Munster family, the original, the OG Munsters. I love the Munsters. I'm a big fan. I've got all of the TV series on DVD, along with several of the movies. I mean, the original cast made some movie attempts of motion picture movie, some TV movie stuff, but then also over the years there were other attempts. There have been other attempts to do different things, to reboot them and bring them back and do all that kind of stuff. And you know, some of them actually I think were okay. Speaking as a big fan, I found that some of them were actually really good. In fact, there was one that had all the remaining original cast. Unfortunately, Fred Gwynne had passed away at that point, but the rest of the cast, that they were all diners at a restaurant, and the man who was playing Herman in that show was the waiter at the restaurant where these folks were all gathered for having lunch. And in fact, sitting there having lunch, they all were basically playing themselves as the same characters from the Munsters, just older. But those actors, they commented that it was actually a little weird, a little eerie that the guy playing Herman in that film did such a good job of capturing Fred Gwynne and presenting Herman that it was a very loving tribute to Herman is how they saw it. They said it felt like Fred was there, and you know that's I would think that would be very I personally I would think that would be very high praise. It's daunting enough to step into a role that is so well established and so well known in the culture. And you're trying to fill the shoes, in this case very big shoes, of some really beloved actors playing really beloved characters. That's pretty daunting to try to take that on. And so some of them worked, some of them did not work, and I've got a lot of those that have done that. But I wanted to take this holiday weekend to do a little review of the most recent attempt to bring the beloved Munsters back into the current public consciousness, and that is Rob Zombie's attempt at the Munsters, which is viewable on Netflix. It's also apparently out on DVD. I saw it at Walmart last night, and I was in a hurry, so I didn't stop to get it, but I'm gonna have to go back and get that and add that to my collection. And again, I own stuff that's good Munsters. I own stuff that's not so good. And so let's talk about where I would rank Rob Zombie's. Now, first of all, like a lot of other big Munster fans, when I heard that Rob Zombie was going to do a Munsters movie, I was like, oh no, please don't. We don't need this ruined. Please don't. I mean, honestly, that was my immediate thought. I thought he was going to try to take the Munsters and do I'm not a fan of what's happened with Riverdale and the newer version of Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. I'm not a big fan of taking shows that were originally for fun and humor and then try to make them all dark and serious and even horror stories of that nature. And so I was afraid that's what Rob Zombie was. He was going to actually try to treat him like an actual monster movie. And so I was relieved then to find out that Rob Zombie himself, like myself, is a huge fan of the TV show, of the original TV show from the 50s. And now that doesn't always guarantee it's going to work well. Most recently I think of Doctor Who. I am not a fan of Chris Chibnall, who's been the showrunner for the last several years. When people are familiar with the woman who's been the Doctor, played the role, and a woman. I don't have a problem with her as the Doctor. I think she's a fine actress, and I think she could do the part really well. Problem is that showrunner, Chris Chibnall, who says he's a big fan of the show, that he's watched forever. Yeah, but he came in with some weird, in my opinion, some weird viewpoints and did some stuff with the show that I don't approve of. I don't like, and I don't think they're good for the show overall. And I'm hoping that those things will be retconned and erased, explained away in some manner in subsequent seasons now that different showrunner, in my opinion, a better showrunner is there, a guy returning to that. But that's off topic. That's Doctor Who. But I had the same fears about Rob Zombie with the Munsters, even when he said he was a big fan of the TV show. Okay, that makes me feel a little better. At least you've seen the TV show, and you're not just going to take the characters and do with them whatever you want. You are familiar with the show. But still, just because he's a fan of the TV show, knowing the other work he's done, still not sure where this is going to go. Well, I have now watched the product of that, and there were a lot of people wringing their hands, and Rob Zombie's wife was cast to play Lily, and of course the running joke is that the only work she ever gets is in Rob Zombie's movies, which I think is a little unfair. I don't think she's the worst actress ever, though she can be a little stiff. However, in this case, playing Lily, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's meant to be very campish. And so I was like, well, maybe this would be a role that actually would play to her strengths if that's the case. So I even though I was hearing a lot of people expressing, sky is falling in dire things, I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait and give it a shot. I'm going to watch this and see what it comes out like. And I saw one of the previews and I was like, wow, it's it didn't look too bad, although in my opinion, way too Technicolor, not even Technicolor, way too like blacklight color, just wow, lots of loud colors, which I didn't really care for that part, but that's a minor detail, I suppose. Let's talk about the movie itself, the story that it does, and how does it treat the beloved Munsters. Well, first, a spoiler: Marilyn isn't even there. Neither is Eddie. Sorry. So it's just Herman, Lily, and Grandpa. That's what. And Igor. You get to see a lot more of Igor in this than we saw in the TV show. In at least one of the movies, there was where Herman and Grandpa went back to Transylvania to get something. They were able to. We met Igor, and he was a very interesting fellow. In this movie, speaking of Doctor Who, in this movie, one of the actors who played Doctor Who, Sylvester McCoy, actually plays Igor. And there are two actors in the film that I think are really exceptional. One is the actor who plays Herman. I think he does a decent job of portraying that role. The other is Sylvester McCoy as Igor. He's a bit of a scene stealer because I think in terms of acting skill, he may be the strongest actor in the entire movie. The rest of the actors, and Rob Zombie's wife playing Lily, she does an okay job. And the gentleman playing Grandpa, he does an okay. He's got a big mustache, which I don't understand that part, why they felt that was needed, but it's okay. It's a little adjustment to the character. Overall, the character stayed fairly true to the TV show, but almost all the other actors, it really felt like it was a low-level community theater. It felt more like it was a fan movie, fan-made movie, where someone makes it in their basement, or in their backyard. The look of the movie was very nice, very well done, and the lighting, as I said, the colors were a little bit extreme, I thought, in some situations, and I thought Herman was way too green. But okay, again, that's I'm not gonna nitpick over stuff like that. But the acting of especially the supporting cast, folks, wow. I'm sure they're all really nice people. They have great personalities. But watching some of the scenes was painful because the acting was so stilted, so wooden. And the dialogue and the pacing, which that's Rob Zombie's fault. He's the director. He's the one that determines what's the pacing of the scenes. It just was. Some of it was really painful. It was like slowing it down and stretching it just to make sure you, the audience, gets the joke we're making. You see, See, he said this, and did you get? We're gonna point it out, right? Yeah, and it's just like, okay, yes, I got it. I'm not stupid. I got it. It was an easy, approachable, dumb joke. I got it. Can we move along, please? Some of it seemed very amateurish in that sense. But the star is, of course, Herman and Grandpa and Lily, and the three of them, I thought they do pretty good, and they interact fairly well together. Some of the plot line of what happens before they come to it, because this starts with way back in Transylvania when Herman and Lily actually meet, the circumstances of that. Some of that is really hokey. It steals and borrows heavily from various episodes of the TV show, which is okay. It's a good tribute. I think it's a little weird of a story. But then again, so were a lot of the actual episodes of the TV show. I think this was a little bit weirder. It's kind of like somebody did some LSD and watched the Munsters and said, here's what would be a good reboot of the show. In fact, I have no reason to believe that's not what happened. But still, all in all, I'm going to get the DVD and I will watch it again. I thought it was an interesting retelling, and that's the way you got to look at it. You really have to disconnect from, okay, are we doing an updated version of the TV show? No. What we're doing is an updated version of the story of these three characters. And there's a lot of similarity to the TV show, but it's not the TV show. And so if you approach it with that mindset, if you approach it by watching it and going, okay, I get it. This show is a literal reboot. That it is taking the characters, the concept, some of the location things, and just doing something totally different with them. If you accept that as the premise, I think you'll be golden. I think you'll be good. Because I watched it with that mindset, and I'm a huge Munsters fan, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it enough that I will watch it again. Now, I wouldn't say I enjoyed it to the extent that I enjoyed, say, the Santa Claus, or the Christmas, well, Santa Claus with Tim Allen. I was thinking of the Christmas Chronicles, where Kurt Russell really redefined Santa Claus in a radical way. A lot of similarities to what we've seen and done before, but a whole bunch of new stuff, a whole bunch of new dimensions to that character, and I love that. Tim Allen is my favorite Santa Claus. He's number one, but man, Kurt Russell, he is a very close number two, almost in a tie with number one. Very different portrayals of Santa. But Kurt Russell redefining that role, that worked for me. What Rob Zombie has done, redefining some of these characters, it works for me too. Not as much as Kurt Russell doing the redefining Santa, but it still works. And so if you've been curious about it, if you've been thinking of watching it, I encourage you to do so. What better time than Halloween time? And with that, I'll see y'all next time from my front porch.